Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what's coming in the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I am your host, Tanya Shrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's managing editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome on this rainy Wednesday.
I know. This is how you know you're in Humboldt, Tanya.
It's my favorite.
You rain people.
I love it. You know why? Because there's less people at the park when it's raining.
Whenever someone tells me like, oh, I love the rain, etc., I just imagine that they live in a Gothic castle and there's just a constant flow of tea. It might be haunted. I don't know, but they're just...
I do have tea. I do have a possibly haunted duplex. Yeah, it fits. It fits.
That's pretty solid, actually. I'm going to get you a gargoyle.
I would say my little dog is the gargoyle of the house for the most part. Oh, but we have a lot of interesting stories coming to this rainy week, and the Journal has its Green Week, which is what the rain makes.
Yes, it is our annual green issue, which happens around Earth Day. We try to catch the Earth Day vibe. And I have to say that there's a lot of stuff related to the environment and folks taking care of the environment up here in Humboldt all the time. So it's not like we are short of stories about that. And this year, we are focusing, if you look at our cover story, which is a beautiful cover, we are back on our condor BS because we are on nest watch, right? We're all like waiting. Are we not all waiting? Get on board. My God. The cool thing is...
They're so cute.
I know.
I can't wait for baby condors if we get them.
Right? And the thing is that we are now in the stage, because this program has been going on long enough, and we have pairs that are out flying in the wild. We are now in the stage where we have possible pairs that are of age, and they take about 6 or 7 years to mature to the point where they will mate and have eggs and nest and all that stuff. And so now it's just us going like full, like, I don't know, 90-day fiance or whatever you call it. We are invested here at the Journal. I literally stood over Kim Weir's shoulder. She's our condor lady. She wrote this wonderful cover story this week. Literally stood over her shoulder and went, "Aw," as we watched video of a condor getting way down deep into a carcass to eat, like in that rib cage. And we were
again,
cooing.
For those goth ladies and all of us.
I know. And we were like, look, their heads are turning pinky red. It's so cute. So we're those people now. Yeah, we're absolutely in. And also, you know what I really enjoyed about the cover picture, by the way, and the Yurok tribe has been wonderful about sharing information, really allowing Kim to have access to, it's been wonderful. They have these fantastic pictures, which you'll see on the cover, and you'll also see on the inside of the story and online, where you really get to see the size of the birds. When you see an image of a condor flying, you have really nothing to scale it off of. There is a picture of it next to a turkey vulture. And if you've seen a turkey vulture, that's not a small bird.
No, I rescued one once. They're fairly large birds.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, okay, so the condor is like the dude from Reacher standing next to a normal human. It's just
I think
giant.
The picture in the Condor Center of the staff member getting ready to take the condor in for treatment, and she's got
Yes.
the blanket ready to go, that lets you, because that makes that person look like a little petite person, and it's a human.
Standing next to that, you got to ask yourself, can this thing pick me up and carry me off? There's a great picture of some of the folks that are working with the animals holding out a wing, and you just see the part that's like the wing tip that isn't included on the flat of your spicy wings. And it's massive. And so we were like thinking, we were in the office going, okay, so how big would a spicy condor wing be if it was like a flat or a drum? And it was ridiculous, like a yard. It's insane. So you get the sense of the scale of them, but you also are learning a lot. And as we're following them on this journey, learning a lot about how they are tracking these animals. On the cover image, you can really see the little sensors on the wings. And as a person who regularly catches her earrings on her sweater, I am amazed that these sensors, these trackers, stay in place on these animals and they're able to geolocate them. And now we're going to get to the nest part, which is, where all do they go? How do we even know that they might be nesting, right? How do you monitor? Because the condors are going out into the wild to places that, as Kim was explaining to me in the office, the places that will take a full day's hike just to get near, much less to climb up to where the nest is at. So we don't have like a nest cam, right? This isn't as, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's not as easy as watching eagles nest. So
And we certainly don't want to fly drones in there and
we
upset anybody.
don't do it, drone people.
Don't do it.
So
I already heard them with their little clickety clacks. Don't do it.
if you enjoyed Apollo 13, this is a little bit like that, because you've got this crew of people who are deeply invested in the survival of these creatures, and they are watching, monitoring the movements and seeing like, okay, wait a second, they've disappeared. Does that mean they're dead? Does that mean they're out of range somehow? Does that mean that the tracker is failing? What could this be? They haven't moved for a long time. Does that mean they're nesting? Does that mean they're injured? And they have to sit there and watch all of these behavioral signs in order to figure out what's going on. Because again, we can't look inside the nest. And because of the way that they nest, it's not like an eagle's nest where it's like a little thing sitting out in a tree, like, Woodstock's nest. It is instead a hollow space. So they kind of get down into a hollow area. And I was asking Kim, I was like, so what's in there? It's like straw, feathers, what do we got? She was like, nothing. They just find a hollow space that's protected and they just nest in there. But that means that there isn't a way for the transmitter to share the signal, right? They're permanently driving through a tunnel. So that is why it's so hard to tell, and they have to really guess and see what's going on. But she also like told me that, there's, like I said, there's no straw. They don't like set up a warm area. It's really bare bones. It's just two partners taking care of the egg, like sitting with the egg. That's its only comfort. That's its only warmth, etc. And we were laughing and comparing it to like, your old boyfriend out of college where you went to his place and there was nothing on the walls and there's nothing in the fridge. There's just like a couple of monsters.
Is on the floor.
Mattress on the floor. Exactly. There's just some free weights and a game console. And you're just like, God, can we go to your place? It's nicer. Yeah, it's nicer.
You're eating the DiGiorno after you cut it on the box that it came in.
Taking me back to some dark times.
Taking us back.
Yeah, so it's really bare bones, like deep minimalism. It is 90s minimalism in there. And it's really interesting to me that that's how they grow. It's almost like this is the most difficult possible species, right? You have to wait 6 or 7 years for them to mature enough to reproduce. They have these weird nests, as far as I know, as a non-birder, it seems weird to me. And then you just don't know what's happening in there. And then maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. It's just a nail biter for the Condor fans. But it's not just AO at A0 and A1. Those are the pair that we've been watching to see if they're nesting, etc. It's not just them. We have other possible mating pairs, because I guess it's not really like The Bachelor, it's more like Love Island or something. So among the mating pairs, some very exciting news has come out, which is that one of the texts with the program said that A3, one of the original males in the cohort, was making mating overtures toward the next oldest female, A7, and she, quote, didn't seem totally repulsed by him.
Same, same.
I
That's
mean,
all we can hope for, right?
yeah, that's dating in Humboldt, ladies. Swipe right. So maybe that could be like a little love connection, or at least
The
an egg
A-Riz
connection.
game is mighty.
Yeah. So I don't know what the next step is to encourage that love.
I think we need, if anybody needs to get involved, they need to go out to the forest and start pumping some Teddy Pentagrass like through the trees, you know.
That's what I said. I was like, can we bring some Bluetooth speakers and just do like just a little Barry White, just a
Little Barry White action.
little
Yeah.
something, just a little romance.
I think we
It's
just
fine.
dated ourselves.
I know. Put out some candles and a carcass and just anyway, it's really a great read, and I just really like the way it's like the Apollo 13 command sender, where everybody's like, what's happening? And when you pick up the issue, you'll learn more about what's happening in the nest, and what they think is going on with the nest is what I should say, and what the prospects are coming down the line for condor babies.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're having a good time with this, but we want this to happen.
Oh, I
And
mean, condors born in the wild for the first time. I mean, in how long? One of the things that came included in this story is that they were originally, everywhere in the region, up and down the California coast. And in the late 1800s, that's the last time they were seen flying wild. And it was after their numbers were decimated by settlers who poisoned and shot the birds. Settlers.
meanwhile, we're still
Meanwhile,
using lead and we need to stop that.
yes, that takes me to my next thing, because we lost a very good boy who was named, that was a B7, who was named in the Yurok language for I am a friend, or kind, or good nature. And he was the one that died because he was poisoned by a lead airgun pellet. Yeah. If you're using lead anything, don't.
It's time to stop.
Yeah. I mean,
Many years back.
yes. So I don't know what kind of lead paint chip, announcement we need to make out here, but you remember those ads? They were always like, don't eat
Yeah.
lead paint, kids.
Don't do it.
And don't use lead ammo, for the love of God, because it is the worst thing for these animals.
And you're
And
poisoning these very good condors.
yeah, and a really poignant thing that actually Cully Koziris, our calendar editor, who had just read the story, came over and she was like, well, it just seems like you have to let them go into the wild to be wild. But as they go off into the wild, that's where they meet the risk of lead ammo, of being shot by someone, of being lost to us. And she was like saying that this is the risk of letting an animal be wild again. And it's heartbreaking. And I'm just going to sit here and play landslide and cry in my office afterward.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's hard for all parents out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I just really feel for these
16-year-olds
folks
in a big old lead container and send them out in the world. Give it a read. I encourage everybody to pick up this week's journal, and we're going to pivot to some other amazing First Nation bringing everything back.
I mean, it's a little bit great what is happening with local tribal entities doing really fantastic work. And I love me the Food Sovereignty Lab, the Rue Gallagher over at Cal Poly Humboldt. I've written about the lab in the past in terms of when it was established and also a previous chef in residence that was there. And now, this year, from October to October, Chef Crystal Wapipa is at the Sovereignty Lab, and she is teaching folks about indigenizing, as she puts it, recipes using indigenous ingredients. And we speak here, when we say indigenous ingredients, we're talking about both things that are indigenous to North America and also things that are part of indigenous culture with a capital I. So it was really great. I got to go to a workshop that she led with students, teaching them how to make the Three Sisters cake, which, by the way, she made first for Willie Nelson. What's up, Willie? And I know, right? And it's very cool. She talked about this cake, and in talking about how to make it, she talked about all of its ingredients. The Three Sisters, you may remember this from grammar school, those of you who aren't. It was the corn, the beans, and the squash, right? That for so many different indigenous peoples, those are the Three Sisters, the three main sustaining crops that grow together, also the cohort effect of growing together, and sustain so many indigenous cultures around North America and farther south. And it's just very cool because she explained this in terms of its history, in terms of its cultural meanings. She talked about how the cornmeal and the corn kernels in the cake are representative both of the history of migration from Mexico north for a lot of tribes and for indigenous people, and for how corn became important for a lot of tribes. And then she talked about how, how to use it, how to substitute it for wheat flour and things like that. But then she also talked about how she describes the squash as being the mother's belly filled with babies, meaning the seeds. And she talked about how some of those seeds, some of the heirloom breeds of squash were lost during forced migration when the US government forced people off their land. And some of those were hidden. And she's still finding them now from different producers who hit her up and they're like, hey, I think we have a seed that came from your people or from these people. And some of her work is about returning those heirloom kind of, cultural and also sustenance giving kinds of plants back to the people that had them in the first place. And so returning those in a very intertribal approach to food sovereignty, helping each other and making foods that reach across boundaries. And it's really fascinating. She uses beans in that same recipe, pureed, and it really gives the cake body. And it's not very sweet. She talked about how not using refined sugars as much. She was like, I love sugar, but she replaces it with maple and other things that are meant to give sweetness, like the squash, like the corn. And she talks about that as a way to decolonize your palate, which is the title of the article, because she was really interested in finding ways to come back to ancestral ways of eating. And some of that means traditional food ways of harvesting, ways of cooking, but also making contemporary recipes, contemporary foods, as she does at her Wepapa kitchen in Oakland, which is the first Native woman-owned restaurant in California. Huge deal. I know. She was nominated for a James Beard Award. It's remarkable. But she talked about how we think about decolonizing your palate, decolonizing your kitchen, and you think it means removing things. Oh, I can't use this, I can't use that. But she talked about bringing back in elements that are traditional, that are indigenous, that are more local to us, and bringing back the things that her ancestors ate, and feeling that communion and feeling that closeness with them. And it really is a fascinating approach. Once you start looking at something and asking yourself, is this what I'm eating, what I'm doing, what I'm consuming because I want it, or am I being told to want it? Right? Have other things been removed for me and replaced with this? Like, for example, commodities foods, highly processed foods, instead of the things that you would be growing and hunting and whatnot if you were still on the land that your people started on. So it was a really interesting approach, and I really appreciated her talk. And she has a book, her first book, cookbook coming out, which is an intertribal cookbook, which again, I just love this whole approach is really interesting. And she talks a lot about all the things that were here pre-Columbian, pre-contact, what Native people were doing, and those things that we can bring back. And I must tell you that the cake was very good. You know, I ate some of that cake.
Oh, I was gonna say you would be remiss to walk away without cake.
For journalism. I ate the cake
Journalism.
for journalism.
And you know, maple, that's a lot of iron, so
Oh, I was not aware.
bring that maple in there, yeah.
Yeah, some of the stuff she was talking about was about native foodways and health, and the things that we lose when we have more processed food. And I just found it really interesting.
I think it's wonderful. And again, not only is it a tease for the article, but a tease to go out and get that cookbook when it's ready.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I was flipping through and it was just very enticing.
Excellent.
Very enticing.
Well, we have just like 2 minutes left to tease what Jennifer brought us for comic relief.
Yeah, because it's grim out there. But I know we have talked a lot about AI because, you know, I have an enormous bee in my bonnet, a Africanized killer bee in my bonnet about AI. And this week I'm mostly concerned about AI and the planet, because all those cute little pictures of yourself that you make with generative AI, and I'm talking about generative AI here, which actually does suck more juice and more water to keep those servers going. That cute little like fairy picture you made of yourself, or the one where you have like a different haircut or you're 10 pounds thinner, that is costing us in terms of environmental damage. And so I am just not willing to sacrifice our ecosystem so that we can have a Jesus Trump image. Yeah, so we're talking about that, and you know,
half Jesus, half Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the doctor in that. I'm not.
Oh, well, we ate up too much of our time, and I
That's
need
best.
everybody to go out and pick up this week's current edition of the North Coast Journal tomorrow and read all of these articles for themselves and recycle it when you're done. You can also always find us online at northcoastjournal.com. So with that, I thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Kim. Get that journal and get caught up on all the Condor doing. I am Tanya Schrum. Thanks for being with us and staying informed and supportive of our North Coast community.